Stop the cap.
So I just listened to, I believe it's Deja Sade or Sade. Sade is the way that you would usually say it. But anyway, I just watched her video about Project 2025, and she's kind of artsy fartsy and a creative, but she laid out um, the plan for the most part, which is a conservative's wet dream. Basically they want to turn America into a theocracy and, uh, position America where America goes back to isolationism in terms of its uh, global, the U.S. getting involved in things overseas, which clearly ignores the military industrial complex because that's the primary reason why the U.S. does that. On top of facilitating, the free trade, not the free trade agreements, but facilitating international trade. Because if many of you all don't know, the U.S. Navy basically monitors the entirety of the world's oceans, basically eliminating piracy. Because that's what would happen. People would be getting hijacked on the high seas and all that. But when you got nuclear aircraft carriers and battle destroyers just, floating around. Um, that regulates things. This is the whole thing with the Somali pirates, and I am not the captain and everything. They were like, "Hey, you think you're just going to sit here at the what is that called, the Strait of Hormuz, and just, you know, mess with global trade? You messing with our money." So we all know what happened with that. They shut that down. Um, so there's reasons why the U.S. has bases all around the world, and because, like I said before, the U.S. is, the empire in Star Wars. People think that it's not, but it is. But conservatives, they have, their worldview, which is basically we're going to make America this religious theocracy. And the biggest problem, and this is all to cater to the evangelicals, and the biggest problem in America is because people don't have the sweet twinkle of Jesus in their eye. And once we get rid of this moral degradation and pornography and all this free love and all the abomination and interracial and miscegenation relations, once we get rid of all of the evil in the world, Christ will come back in America, because America is very special, because America was given to us by Jesus. He came down and handed it to us, and everybody else who isn't a Christian, they're just here for our entertainment. They're here to be used and raped, pillaged, and plundered, because this has all been promised to us, right? That's how nutty as squirrel shit these white conservatives are. That's what they think, right? And listening to her lay out the whole Project 2025, right? So you got, like, first off, all the religious stuff, in my opinion, is like smokescreen stuff, right? Sounds cool, sounds great. You got like 25% to 30% of the electorate that are evangelical Christians, right? You got to put the positivity on it, right? Who's against Jesus? Why would you be against Jesus in the Bible and Christianity and morality? There's something wrong with you, right? You see this, a lot of this bullshit in the gun space. You know what I mean? Like, people talking about self-defense and whatnot, and they always got to put Jesus on it. Like, who's the guy? Who's the guy? Love it. Who's that guy? They got that guy. There's another guy. I think he was born in Turkey. He's always talking about Jesus. He sells Jesus Saves T-shirts on his website. So it's just it's very cringy. And I haven't been able to put my finger on, white evangelical Christians, but I've never felt comfortable around them. Like she had the clip in there of that evangelical billionaire pastor, the one that was talking about buying a plane, and he's like looking at like, it doesn't not look like you're looking at Satan when you look at that white man and his piercing blue eyes. He looks like the fucking devil. It looks like a scene from like Tales from the Hood. Seriously speaking, that's what he looks like. And the way he's like shaking his finger and shit. Like, I'm like, God damn, you look like the devil. And this man is up there preaching about Christianity. That video clip always creeps me out with the way that he freaking looks. He looks like Satan. You know what I mean? The way his pupils are all constricted and shit. Like, I'm like, you look evil as fuck. But anyway, um, what was I gonna say about I was talking about the evangelical Christians, them and the gun community, and just their whole like twisted warped way of looking at the world. But Project 2025, you got the trickle down economics, right? We're going to do Reaganomics, 2.0, which is crush the middle class, right? And this is where I say to myself, I'm like, I don't know what, like, I feel like the people, because this woman obviously is more on the, she's on the left or whatever, but I'm saying the, if you're going to, like, it's not just about Democrats go out there and vote and make sure that the Republicans never grab a grip hold. I feel like there's a disconnection. And granted, the white conservative Republicans, they might be too racist for anything because there's a lot of things going on at the same time, right? There's a lot of, like, example, you have white people who, generally speaking, are, poor to working class, and they buy into the notion and the idea that minorities getting anything is them losing power, right? Completely ignoring the whole history of, racial inequality, all the things that have negatively affected specifically the African American community: redlining, blockbusting, Jim Crow, eminent domain, urban renewal, convict leasing, debt peonage, COINTELPRO, dumping of drugs in the black community, right? 1994 crime bill, right? All of these, running highways through black communities, right? And then, you get to 2024, and then you got a 16-year-old black kid with a gun in your face, and then you're sitting there, like, they sit there and wonder why. Like, I'm like, man, fuck you. I'm like, America has the black people it deserves. And in a minute, it's about to have the white people it deserves. The one thing that the conservative evangelical Christians constantly overlook is money. They constantly overlook money. They like, and that's why the religious aspect is such a distraction. And if they can't get people on the religious aspect, then they'll immediately switch over to the racial aspect. They'll just play loops of crime on Fox News. Oh, see, black people, oh, they're coming for your stuff, and the lazy black people, and these are the only way we want to depict black people, because we want to fear monger you to death. That you white people, you are the only moral sanctuary in this country, and you're good, hardworking, sober, prudent, moral citizens, and everybody else who basically isn't white is a problem. Muslims are terrorists, black people are criminals, liberal white people all want everybody to be gay, and what other groups would they focus on? And Hispanics, even though we love Hispanics because we love cheap labor, anytime we want to deflect and say that the Hispanics are taking all the jobs that white people don't want to work, and the jobs that don't even pay shit, we'll blame the Hispanics. And then we'll dump them right next to black people in terms of crime. But what else? What else is in there baked in this cookie? The money part is something that I feel like the liberals have to do a better job of articulating, because the Democratic Party was supposed to be the party of, the labor unions, the working class, and that, much of the Democratic Party is, granted, they go up there and promote the whole, society can do, everybody can do whatever the fuck they want to do, but at the same time, like, they're no different than the corporate Republicans. Like, it's two wings of the same bird. And I don't see liberals like this woman, that made this video about Project 2025. I don't see them speaking to that. It's more, and then here's another thing: the conservatives, regardless of whether you agree with their plan or not, they have laid out a structured plan. Point blank, period. When it comes to the liberals, it's total anarchy. It's multiple factions, that compose mainly of white liberals and minorities, right? And, black people are stuck because black people have been voting for the Democratic Party for, so long, and then conservatives use like that birth of a nation tactic, Southern strategy. And they're always throwing black people on the underneath the bus. So black people, they're like, I want to have a different party to vote for, but Republicans ain't it because there's nothing but a whole bunch of white supremacists over there, and a bunch of ignorant white people who, they vote against their own economic interest. You can't even talk about money to them. I think that the money conversation needs to be driven home, with conservatives to at least give them pause because they're more hyper focused on Jesus, and intangible morality arguments than they are on what actually sustains the middle class. I know this because I argue with a white conservative Christian. Him and I, we go back and forth all the damn time, all the damn time. And what did I say to him recently? We had a back and forth. Where is this at? Where is this at? I said, you might as well. What did I send him? I sent him a picture of Zoom cashiers being paid $3.75. Zoom cashiers there was this restaurant in New York. Oh, I don't know what it's called. 023. This is on you can find the video. It's called 023 Productions on Instagram. Zoom cashiers make $3.75 an hour. So instead of actually having cashiers, like since they don't want to do the whole robot kiosk thing, they're paying people $3.75 in the Philippines over a Zoom call, in order to facilitate, the meal, right? So, which reminds me of the freaking translators in the hospital, but that's a whole different conversation. And I said, you might as well take all Christian values and the patriarchal nuclear Christian families Christians claim they want and flush it all down the toilet with this type of shit. Just flush it all down the toilet, right? And I'm always taking digs at his ass because he's one of these Christians, like most Christians, that he believes that the reason why society is falling apart right now is a lack of people subscribing in Christianity and a lack of morality. And I'm like, no, dude, they're not fucking paying people. You've crushed the middle class. This idea that people are going to value your principles and your beliefs, right? Even I believe that there's a whole bunch of stuff in Christianity. I mean, it's a template, right? There's nothing in there that's like go out there and be destructive and violate other people. There's nothing in there that's negative like that, right? It's rules and whatnot to abide by. But if abiding by those rules doesn't get you anything, people are going to, over time, reject that structure and reject those rules. On top of the hypocrisy that you're going to see from people that's already in there. Your dad's up there talking about Jesus, and then he's out there fucking other bitches and sleeping with some other woman. Like, get real. And then when you check them on it, they go, oh, well, I'm not perfect. Only God is perfect. Only Jesus is perfect. Right? It's one of the things that one of the reasons I couldn't get with Christianity, aside from, lying about, Jesus's identity and making you think he's a white man when I'm like, isn't he in the Middle East? Isn't Jesus one of those people that you call sand niggers? Right? But somehow they got blonde hair, blue-eyed Jesus up on the fucking wall. Like, I'm like, if you lying to me about that, what else are you lying to me about? Right? I can't subscribe to it. Aside from having the whole history of what African Americans have went through, and I'm like, white people are doing all this evil shit. They've been doing evil shit for hundreds of years, wiping out Native Americans, stealing lands, all this other shit, talking about how they're gonna go to heaven, right? And I'm like, not a single fucking lightning bolt, not opening up the ground, nothing. Nothing. All this evil that they've done for hundreds of years, and not even so much as a fucking lightning bolt. I'm like, yeah. Fuck God, fuck Jesus, fuck all this shit. It ain't real. Because if it was, and God was as consistent as the Bible claims that God is, then there would be some real world punishment. What is this shit about God doing all these miracles 2,000 years ago, but ain't shit happening fucking now? Like, I mean, fuck out of here. Oh, we gotta wait for Jesus to come back. All this bullshit. But anyway, see, I get triggered when I talk about this shit. It's actually, then he responds and he says, it's actually the complete opposite. If Christian values and nuclear families were intact, we wouldn't have a lot of this type of stuff. See, this is his mentality, right? It's actually the opposite. If Christian values and nuclear families were intact, we wouldn't have a lot of this type of stuff. What is he missing? Why aren't nuclear families intact? Is it really because there's a lack of Jesus, or is it because there's a lack of gainful employment? Hell, forget why families aren't intact. Let's look at why young men are not having kids and white birth rates are on the floor. If you were to ask a 20 something year old why he doesn't have a wife and kids or why he doesn't have a family, chances are you're going to hear it's too fucking expensive. It's $2,000 for rent. You have to be making over six figures in order to qualify for one of these, average homes out here, which the average price is $430,000. And the fact that homes that are below that, you can barely find that in any major metropolitan city. You're not going to go out here and find a house for $200,000 around any major metropolitan city. Right. So notice how he combines Christian values with the nuclear family, acting like the main reason why we don't have nuclear families as a society like they did in the past is because of a lack of Christian values, not because of a lack of gainful employment. Again, this is why these Christians are nutty as squirrel shit. They don't live in reality. They don't do math. And what pisses me off about this dude is he's a fucking millionaire. This is a millionaire talking this bullshit about about how it's the lack of Christian values and the nuclear families don't exist because you don't like there's the fucking lack of gainful employment. Anyway, continuing. And I said it starts with the money. You can have all the Christian values you want, but if men are not gainfully employed enough to hold down a family, eventually values will break. Who's going to listen to a financially broke father? Why is your son going to listen to you when you can't even keep the lights on? You already know women don't respect men with no money. So tell me how a broke man would head his household and operate from a Christian patriarchal standpoint. Why should she follow? Why should she follow him? You got daughters. What broke Christians are you encouraging them to get with? See, I had to bring it home to him because he has daughters. And I'm like, yeah, what broke motherfucker that has the sweet twinkle of Jesus in his eye are you getting ready to suggest to your daughter? Get the fuck out of here. Continuing. And then I said, here are 3 verses from the Bible. See, I got to hit him with scripture. So, since I'm such an atheist, I'm like, motherfucker, let's go to your own book since you want to talk all this bull. And this is what I can't stand about fucking Christians, because they don't even know their own fucking book. I can't stand Muslims that do this. I can't stand Christians that do this. I'm like, you can find whatever you want to find. And I'm like, why am I presenting it to you as an atheist? Why aren't you presenting it to me? And then I'm saying, if you were presenting it to me, then you would already know that what just came out of your mouth is fucking bullshit. But no, I, as the atheist, I got to present your own scripture to you to show you that even in your own scripture, it talks about you need to be making some goddamn money. It says 1 Timothy 5:8, right? Number 1 is Timothy 5:8. And it says, but if anyone does not provide for his relatives and especially for his own household, he has denied the faith and is worse than an unbeliever. Check that out. A man that is not providing for his relatives, especially his own household, he has denied the faith and he is worse than an unbeliever. He's worse than me. You're worse than me as an atheist, as an unbeliever. You're worse than me when you don't take care of your own. Here's the second one. Proverbs 13:22. A good person leaves an inheritance for their children's children, but a sinner's wealth is stored up for the righteous. I don't even know how that particularly translates, right? But basically, you're supposed to leave money for future generations. That's basically what that is saying. So I'm like, writing your own Bible, how you going to do that if you're broke? And I said, according to the Bible, a broke father can't be a Christian. So when this society shouts Christianity, but doesn't address the economics of the society for young men, Like I said, you can flush the whole thing down the toilet. And then he responds and says, your logic is crazy. It's not Christian values' fault if the money is fucked up. You think all these politicians and Fortune 500 CEOs are Christian? Nope. Right? And then I responded, I said, actually, it is, when the whole Western civilization and how they set up their economics was created by Christians. I mean, let me interrupt myself. It's like Christians love to hold people to the standards they don't hold their economic system to. Charity is communism. Hell, doing anything that would benefit the very families that they claim to be about would be communism. It's like hugging Jesus at the same time you're holding hands with the devil. What did I say? Seeing that is logical. In other words, what I just laid out is logical. You're saying I'm not being logical, but what I just laid out is logical. It's like hugging Jesus at the same time you're holding hands with the devil. Which is, all this, we support families and this, that, and the third, but then we also support corporations that don't want to pay anybody and don't support the fucking very Christian families that we claim that we fucking want. Okay, these are the type of arguments that liberal-minded people need to be having with conservatives. Okay, we already know that the conservatives are going to be triggered and they don't believe, black people, everybody gets a fair shake in this society, and black people are lazy, and we don't want to talk about CRT and DEI, and we don't want to equalize anything because, it's about behavior. It's not about the system that we put in place. And this is the whole problem with white folks, because like I said, like, white people are always on team white. They're always a group. Their system is their system, right? Until you start pointing out the things that are wrong with it. And then they want to separate them. I don't have nothing to do with that. I'm an individual. Like, fuck out of here. Continuing. Where is this at? I said, come on, man. It's a white nation founded on Judeo-Christian values. You're going to tell me 98% of the companies aren't run by people who aren't Christian in their personal lives or claim to be? Evangelicals are 25 to 30% of the voting block as a voting block alone. Or yeah. And then he responds, he says, Christianity doesn't run the economy. It's a blueprint for social values. However, as you know, a very select few run things and they ain't Christian. How are they not Christian? How do you have all these Fortune 500 companies, hell, Fortune 1000 companies, and then you're going to sit there and say that they're not Christians? You see how now anybody who's in a position of power who isn't doing what they're supposed to do isn't a Christian, right? When these companies are driven, whether it's the CEOs or shareholders and what they're doing and the people that they put in power and people that are on the boards. See how now all of a sudden none of them are Christian. They're all just these magical evil white people that are like orcs from World of Warcraft that are just sitting on the panel, or Lord of the Rings. So the people that run this country are just orcs. They're not Christian. They're not Christians. Right? Even though you'll see white people, I mean, they got lists of Christian organizations. Chick-fil-A is a Christian organization. They love Christian. Oh, you're closed on Sunday? Wonderful. Thumbs up. Christianity, where's he at? America was founded 248 years ago. You don't think things have changed? Does society really look like it's based on Judeo Christian values? No, it was always based on fucking capitalism. The Judeo-Christian values, it's a smokescreen. It's always been a fucking smokescreen. But you guys buy into it, which allows the capitalists to simply throw this shit up there, and then you guys believe it and you subscribe to it, and you think that everything should be oriented in that direction. And if they don't orient it in that direction, or it makes at least make it look like they're orienting it in that direction, you all get all triggered and mad, shit like Merry Christmas. Oh, it's got to say Merry Christmas. Fuck Happy Holidays. Like y'all go crazy. You see? And then I responded and I said, not at you, but I said, what I'm saying is that the Christians are full of shit. Either they're coward. I said, even they're cowards against the system. And if they're not going to fix the blatant problems within their own economic system, then shut the fuck up about how flawed and fucked up people are, because they're going to be fucked up. Because that is the byproduct of a broken system. You're not going to get Christian households with values, with a society filled with broke fathers. That's impossible. It's system. Oh no, excuse me. I meant to say it's simple math. Spirituality be damned. Nothing from nothing equals nothing, right? And then he's texting me about something else, right? But I'm saying this is the approach that the the people on the right, I mean, excuse me, the people on the left need to focus on when having conversations with people on the right. Now, granted, their racism might prevent them from focusing on this, but they need to stop being duped by the magical intangibleness of Christianity and religion and behavior and all that other shit. They get so duped by this. I've been seeing this over the years, at how white people, like, because first off, when it comes to black people, right? They like, white people are very strange, because when it comes to their kids being negatively impacted by the environment, right? They move, right? They don't want their kids being negatively impacted by the environment, because they recognize that the environment negatively impacts people. They don't want their kids being influenced by certain things, right? Because they understand that that's going to affect how they think, and that's going to affect their behavior. But somehow, when it comes to black people's behavior is not impacted or affected negatively by any of the same situations and circumstances that white people try to run away from, right? Which is primarily all of the pathologies that come out of poverty, right? If I want to see a kick-ass white community, I'm not going to go to Appalachia. I'm not going to go to McDowell County in West Virginia, where everybody's poor because they haven't opened up the coal mines. No, I'm going to go to Manhattan, right? I'm going to go, to where Mitt Romney talks about how, just ask your dad for $20,000 and then you go start a company, right? Like he just pulls out 20K out of his back pocket, right? Like it, like again, white people are so hyper focused on black people. They're so that somehow the laws of physics break when they switch between black people and white people. You know what I mean? Because at the end of the day, they want black people to quote unquote fix themselves and fall in line and behave, despite the fact they don't have the same access to capital and resources like white people do. Hell, they don't even have the same access to the same education, because property taxes are what pay for education. So if you don't live in a certain area code or zip code that is paid for by the property taxes of that area, you don't get to go to that kick-ass school. I mean, even in New Jersey, like it was so crazy. You could just drive around. You could drive through, towns, and in one town, it's like, oh, this is the rich town. All of a sudden, the houses get all big, and then you look at the high school. The high school looks like a fucking fortress. You know what I mean? And it's all like this, just glass everywhere, and it's just state of the art, brand new. You know what I mean? And then you go into the poorer white areas, and then the high school is an older brick building that was built in 1957 or some shit like that. But the wealthy white kids, oh, they got state of the art shit. Maintaining the classism. Like the one of the biggest problems is white people are so focused on black people that they ignore the classism that exists within their own community. And maybe it's because they do believe that at some point, that there's upward mobility, and that they will be able to transcend into that class at a later date, as long as they maintain the hierarchical system of white supremacy. As long as white people are on the top, and I'm already started at the top of the mountain because I'm white, that I will be able to, go from the bottom and go to the top, right? I'll be able to do like, what's his name? Milton Hershey, from Hershey Park in Pennsylvania, right? He came from humble beginnings. His dad was broke and he was a drunkard and all that other shit. He came up with Hershey, and then, was able to, become one of the wealthiest men, if not the wealthiest man, in Pennsylvania during the Gilded Age. You know what I mean? But I'm saying I just think that there's a lot that prevents white people from seeing it for what it is. And what I would have to say to Deja Sade is that um, that how I want to say this: these white people, they the conversation needs to be about the economics. I'm not saying that it's going to pull them away from what they're on, but the conversation needs to be about economics and what needs to be drilled, because there's what white people are like, what, 75% of the population, black people are what, 13% of the population, 14% of the population, right? The idea that black people are going to go out here and change elect just change elections all over the place, yes, more so demographically, where black people are the predominant population, or at least 50% of the population, which you're going to see in a lot of major metropolitan areas. But when it comes to um, the white conservatives, as a general population, they're caught up on Jesus, right? They're caught up on maintaining white supremacy, and the idea that capitalism works and it's going to work for them, and they're stuck there. And there needs to be a conversation, or there needs to be something that shows them that that's not how it works. Again, I mean, I could point that out just by pointing out history. Since they don't like CRT, I'm like, let's talk about the white on white violence. Let's talk about Blair Mountain. Let's talk about Ludlow Massacre. Let's talk about the Latimer Massacre. Let's talk about the Homestead Massacre. Let's talk about the Memorial Day Massacre. All of these are related to the white oligarchs not wanting to fucking pay anybody. These massacres have nothing to do with black people. These have to do with your forefathers fighting for fucking wages. That's where the conversation should be. But instead, everybody's focused on, the white people, the threat of having racial conversations, the threat of black people talking about reparations, the threat of there's too much porn and all this. Look, I'm telling you right now, if white people got if the Project 2025 happened and white conservatives got everything that they wanted, you know who will be feeling great? The elite white conservatives. They be balling out of control. Okay, they be out there like Duke Nukem dumping toxic waste in the local rivers, you know what I mean, and making more money and dodging the EPA and all that other shit. They be having a field day. But you know who's going to be struggling? Your average working class white person. Because since you believe down in trickle down economics, right? You don't believe in unions, right? So you're not going to be making that type of money. You all believe in the hype. You're more caught up on Jesus than you are on money. You know what I mean? And then all that, well, I mean, the love of money is the root of evil. Yeah, but when you have no money, evil will creep into your household when you can't support your family. Your wife will stop respecting you, and you're gonna have no control over your children, especially your sons. And your daughter's gonna be out there trying to make money on fucking OnlyFans because she can't afford her MAC makeup. It starts there. Y'all need to start focusing on the goddamn money and recognize that you have, basically three tiers of society. Obviously, the politicians and all that, all the people that work for the bureaucracy, right? Your corporate elites, right? And then you got everybody else, the proletariat, and like my man says, in Florida, broke ain't got no color on it. But y'all, even like, again, the focus should be on the white conservatives, because white people are 75% of the country, and there are a lot of white conservatives. And y'all want to implement this, and you're like, yeah, if we bring Trump back to the White House, like what is that going to do? What you think these corporations that don't want to pay you now are suddenly going to be like, oh, thank God Trump is here, now release me from my chains, and so I can go out here and basically do everything that I want. Just show me where there's been any sort of level of fucking benevolence from the elite economic class, where they have wanted to pay you. Show me where this happened. You can't show it to me in Europe. You can't show it to me in the Dark Ages, in the Middle Ages. You can't show it to me, when it came to the colonies, right? Because America as a colony was just to extract, freaking resources and wealth, from other people taking Native Americans' lands and enslaving African Americans, right? So the colonists weren't, benefiting as much as they quote unquote should, right? Because they had to go and give that shit back to England, right? And the revolution was over like a 2% tax, right? And in the 1950s, you had it to where the wealthiest American were paying like 90% tax. Now they're paying pretty much nothing. They pay less than the working class people. Because especially with the whole, stocks and shares, if I'm a billionaire like Elon Musk, I just simply go to the bank, say, hey, I have $200 billion in shares. Give me $50 billion. Let me borrow against my shares. You can hold my shares as fucking collateral. I take out the $50 million that is now debt, that is now no longer taxable. Then I can go take the $50 million or $50 billion and go do whatever the fuck I want to do with it. And I don't have to pay tax. All I got to do is pay interest, which is what, 8%? That's way better than paying, what the government would have me pay if I was actually paying my fair share of taxes, right? The whole tax code is structured to benefit businesses, people who have businesses. Now, I understand to a degree why that's incentivized, right? Because, right, people who start businesses create jobs, right? And that government's not necessarily in the business of creating jobs. Same thing with housing, right? And the whole concept of landlords and whatnot. But what happens when that shit gets out of whack? You know? Again, if what is it? What is it? The tax code? I think it's tax code 179. You want to know why all these people are riding around these big ass Escalades and G wagons? Yeah, because any vehicle over 6,000 pounds, right, can be written off as long as you have, you use it 50% of the time for work, right? You can write it off, right? Which a vehicle that big is supposed to be something like them big ass PSE and G trucks that you see with all the utility shit on it. Right? It's not supposed to be a luxury G Wagon or Escalade or something like that. They make those vehicles intentionally heavy just so that they can sell a luxury vehicle and then it can be later written off, on your tax return. This is how the game is played. There's all type of loopholes in the tax. Oh, you can write off, oh, you have a home office, well, you can write off, 50% of your home office. I mean, there's all type of shit that you can do. That doesn't apply to the workers who are just going to work every day, exchanging their time for labor, getting a paycheck, so that they can take care of their families. But they can barely even do that. I understand everybody's not ambitious. Everybody doesn't want to be a CEO. Everybody doesn't want to go out here and deal with the risk reward system of capitalism in terms of, because people do start businesses and businesses fail and people can end up underwater. There is an inherent risk to it. But a lot of the working class people, like like y'all white people, y'all don't get how the system actually works. It's amazing, that white people don't really understand how their system works. The average white person, those people that you see, being interviewed by TYT and the Trump lines and everything, they don't know shit from piss. You know what I mean? Like they are the most ignorant sons of bitches that I've ever fucking seen. I mean, they think they know some. They don't know anything. The worst was the guy that was like, even talking about George Floyd. He was like, yeah, it was like George Floyd. That was this, that, and the third. He was like, did you watch the video? And the guy was like, no, I didn't see the video. It's like, oh my god, man, you talking about shit? You didn't even see. Like the ignorance is just over 9,000. It's just over 9,000. And it's easier to cater to dumbass people than it is to cater to intelligent people that you're not just going to be able to slip some shit by and, something like people are going to be like, whoa, 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 whoa. You said what? You said, huh? Hold on. Run that back. You know what I mean? Like again, like that congressman that addressed, the CEO of Boeing and talking about he's making $33 million a year and his employees got a 1% bonus, a 1% increase over in pay over the course of 16 years. That's what you all are co-signing when you're like, yeah, fist in the air, Project 2025. Like that's what you're co-signing. But because you're so in love with Jesus, you let all that shit, slide. And then what's crazy is then when you get the broken communities, right? Like black people are already on the floor in life on life support, right? Because their money's not right. Right. So any furthering lowering of pay makes their life even harder. Right. And it also makes the life of working class white Americans even harder. Right. And instead of you love Jesus so much, right, that you will allow the corporations to come and vacuum up all the money from all the working class people, right? And then you'll sit there and then you'll double down on the reason why we have more social problems in America is from five, how I want to say this, we damn, I'm going blank. We have more problems in America as opposed to 5 years ago because we don't have enough Jesus. We need to double down on Jesus. And they're just going to keep doubling down on Jesus, doubling down on Jesus. Oh, it's about behavior. Oh, we're just doubling down on Jesus. But yet the economics are not there. People are becoming broker and broker and broker and broker and broker and broker. And it was crazy is like, I love when white people turn on white people. I love when like the boomer class or the boomer generation or the boomer or the Gen Xers when they talk their bullshit and their own kids are like fuck you. You know what I mean? And then their own kids they got to hit them with the math. See, when you hit people with the math, they got nowhere to go. It's like motherfucker, I'm hitting you with math. You talking about hard work, personal responsibility, and my bootstraps, and I'm only making $13 an hour and rent is $2,000. Fuck are you talking about? You know what I mean? You told us to go to school, get an education. We went to school and got an education, and now I got $80,000 worth of student loans. I'm making $13.75 an hour, and rent is $2. And you got the audacity to say to me, "Why aren't you getting married, or why don't you have any kids?" You know what I'm saying? I love when white people turn on the boomers and the Gen Xers on that shit because the math ain't fucking mathing. And you got all these wacky, evangelical Christians that want to make America a fucking theocracy, and they completely ignore the money aspect, and I think that, the people on the left, they need to talk about money. Stop talking about all this, and all this multiculturalism and all this other bullshit. Like that's another thing because y'all don't have a plan. You know what I mean? Like, and this is where I get frustrated at, even black women in the black community because y'all brought in all this goofy shit, the LGBTQ, the Latinx, and all this other shit. Black people's issues are black people's fucking issues. This is the whole problem. This is why we got the problem now with the people trying to claim, "Oh, we invented hip hop and all this other, letting everybody in, not policing the doors. And only now we got people running around talking about they not like us. Okay, only now, because of the Drake and Kendrick Lamar beef and whatnot. But it's like, nah, you got to gatekeep your shit. Thinking that we're going to go out here and we're going to get allies from all these other groups and whatnot. No, we need to stay on fucking code and stay focused. But I already know why that happened because we got a whole bunch of black feminists in the black community that don't like patriarchy, and neither does the LGBT community because patriarchy won't allow them to have the same value as heteronormative cisgender families. So feminists who don't like patriarchy and LGBTQ people who don't like patriarchy, they're gonna come together and form Voltron and have this goofy ass rainbow, coalition. And the thing is like I hate being a black man sometimes, right? Because I got to deal with white supremacy on one end and all their fucking racist ass, history of bullshit, right? And then on the other end, right, I got to deal with, black feminist, and I got to deal with LGBTQ nonsense and whatnot. So there is an appeal to some of the things, whether even if it's an evangelical Christian. I'm an atheist. I don't believe in that shit. It's all bullshit to me. It's hocus pocus. It's used to control people. It's been weaponized against black people. I don't subscribe to it at all. But at the same time, I can't ignore the fact that in the Bible or in any holy book for that matter are blueprints for people to operate in society. I understand that some people need that. Some people just they don't have the capacity, they don't have the mind, to sit there and be like, okay, and reason through why you would want something like that. They gotta have, no, if I don't do this, God is gonna smite me and God is gonna burn me in hell. Like, it was so crazy. If with that argument, white people should be fearful that their entire race is gonna burn in hell. They should be fearful of that. That's the crazy part. Is all talking about righteousness and justice and good versus right versus wrong and good versus evil and all that other shit. And white people magically are not fearful of them as a race burning in hell for the sins of their racial group. Like, it's just nuts. Again, I can't subscribe to it. However, when it comes to things like family structure and patriarchy, and I hate that. I hate religious justifications because it doesn't explain enough, which is why there's a lot of pushback on it. Okay, it's just, oh, because God said so. That's not enough. And we're seeing it right now when it comes to all this bullshit ass equality and whatnot. Oh, women are the same as men. Oh, this and third. Oh, and women need to make as much money as men do. But you only want to date up. So what is the point of paying women more money when you all only want to date up? You make $100,000, you only want to date a dude making $200,000. There's only somebody making $200,000, and that doesn't mean that he necessarily wants to be with you, because he can pick everything from what you're making and on down. You know what I mean? So you have that aspect. Then you have what's the other aspect that you have? Like when it comes to the fact that nations will try it. You see this with the, going into World War III and whatnot. And you do need strong men to not only enforce the laws in your own community at the local level and whatnot, you need strong men to defend your nation. Right. And this is where the feminists, oh, well, that's because men are inherently violent, da da da, there's resources and all that shit. And that's why, and if women were in positions of power, they would do a better job. Yeah, bullshit, whatever. Women are powerless. Women don't have any power because women cannot enforce any of the things that they want to do. At the end of the day, they got to get men to fucking enforce it. Somebody doesn't pay their taxes, you got to send a bunch of men to go get that motherfucker. Somebody goes and molests and violates a child, you got to go and send a bunch of men to go handle that. You got criminals and murderers and rapists and burglars, you got to send a bunch of men to go fucking do that. And men are not going to do that, just off of the strength of nothing. They're not going to do that, without being in control, without having some sort of, being recognized, being respected, right, right. And there being them having, some aspect of control. They're not going to do that. So you can forget about your pipe dreams about, oh, women equality, and it's not going to happen, because all men have to do is just stop, maintaining society, and you're gonna be out there like Furiosa in the Mad Max universe and shit like that. That's what's going to happen, because there are creeps in every male community. There are rapists in every male community. There are people who will violate and take what they want. You do have to have good men, okay, that you align yourself with, that maintain fucking order. Y'all women think that you're just independent and shit. You're not. You're not. You can get that out of your fucking head. Okay? Because when you fuck with the dials, all you end up with is a bunch of weak ass fucking men that can't stop, the fucking, the orcs, from coming over the damn horizon and taking whatever they want. And you know what happens? What ends up happening is you get raped and pillaged and violated and impregnated and all that other stuff, and you get freaking just absorbed into group number two that was more dominant. That's what ends up happening. Go look at like World War II, and all of the self deletions that happened when the Russians came into fucking Berlin and shit. Those Germans off themselves because they would rather be, the Germans actually would rather be captured by the Americans than be captured by the Russians, because they knew if the Russians got them, oh, they knew what time. How the Russians even treat their own people. To the gulag with you. They send you in Siberia, your ass would die with frostbite on your fucking feet. They knew. They knew the men would be sent off to the gulag and the women would be raped and pillaged and fucking violated. And they off themselves. Go and look at the mass deletions in Germany at the end of World War II. They got them all, in looking like Marilyn Monroe, hanging over a dress. They took cyanide and everything. They're just in office. All these Nazi offices and shit. They're just dead. You know what I mean? Go look at the images. They're sitting right up there on Wikipedia. You know what I mean? A lot of people don't know that. A lot of people don't know that. When them Germans lost World War II, and they were fearful of getting captured by those Russians. So if you don't got strong men in your society, you're fucked. I mean, you're just fucked. That's why I look at black women. I'm like, the fuck are you doing? What the fuck are you doing undermining your sons, undermining black men? What the fuck are you doing? Then they got the audacity to turn around and start crying. Well, the black woman is not protected. Shut the fuck up. Shut up, bitch. That shit is fucking irritating as all hell. So it's just like, why do I feel like I'm surrounded by stupid people that don't understand how the fucking world works? And there's certain dials you don't fuck with. You don't fuck with the dial because you don't have a replacement. So, when it comes to the people on the left, like, I'm like, y'all don't have a plan. Notice how they have a plan. And again, going back to what the woman said in the fucking in the video, in the 19 with the Reaganomics, she was like, oh, they passed 60% of it. Yeah, they were organized and they had a plan. And again, with Project 2025, they have a plan. Where is your plan? Your plan is goofy. Your plan is all over the place. Your plan is anybody gets to do anything that they want to do. You don't have a plan for family. This chick, Deja Sade, with the tattoos on her arms. Anytime I see the tattoos, I'm like, oh, here we go. People say, oh, you're being judgmental. Look, 9 times out of 10, they're always on some radical shit. And when you get into specific conversations, oh, she's spot on with this 2025 conversation. But if I started getting into, well, how do you think, families, should operate? And I started talking about traditionalism and a black man that was a breadwinner and it being underneath a patriarchal structure. Oh man, I put money on it. I get a whole bunch of objections. And then the conversation would shift to no, it should be free love, and people should be, we should recognize homosexual families just the same as heteronormative cisgendered families, and there should be a pot in the middle where single mothers can just gain access to infinite resources, and men be productive in society, and men are taxed in a way to where a woman, if she doesn't want to be with the man, she doesn't have to be with the man, and she always gets primary custody of the children, so she gets custody of the children. The men just go out there and work, and they just pay into this magical pot where women just reach into the pot and just gain infinite resources of whatever they want, whenever they want, and then use it for whatever they want. And I'm like, that's not going to happen. See, that's why the left loses. Y'all like it's too. See, the conservatives are smart because the conservatives, even though they're full of shit, because they don't want to fucking pay anybody, which is what I'm trying to get the white conservatives to see, right? They still talk about family and values. They paint a nice little picture, right? They still talk about that stuff, right? They still talk, like, at the end of the day, like Captain Solo said in his video, at the end of the day, no matter what radical shit you want to throw up, at the end of the day, your 50% of your existence on this planet is to meet somebody, procreate with them, raise your fucking kids, and then, your kids, you pass the mantle of responsibility onto them. They go off, do the same thing, and then you slowly fade into fucking, non-existence. Okay, that is life. We're born, we live, we die. That does not fucking change. Okay. So if you wanted to talk about not having kids, oh, you can do whatever the fuck you want to do if you're not talking about having kids. But when you're talking about having kids, which are the continuation of society and civilization and family and all that other shit, okay, you can't go in there and fuck with the dials because, you know, it has worked a certain way, for, pretty much all of human civilization. I don't care what a feminist says. At the end of the day, when y'all are pregnant, y'all are vulnerable. You know what I mean? And if you have multiple kids, that's multiple periods of time where you're going to be vulnerable. And you need a man that's able to go out there and get the money and bring it back. Like, he's going to be the beast of burden. He's going to be doing the majority of the work. You know what I mean? He can just keep on working and not even break a sweat because he doesn't get pregnant. He's not the one that has to bear children. If you got a problem with that, take that shit up with God. You see? But But y'all be wanting to fuck with the dials, and then you gotta and then to show you how irreplaceable men really are, you have to go to the government to try to get resources so that you can have your little matriarchy or your little role reverse situation and whatnot. And this crazy thing is the government and the society it was founded on heteronormative cisgendered families. It was established by heteronormative cisgendered families. And then you want to bust that up. And I'm like, you idiots. Eventually, you're going to get to a point where you got so many broken families that you have more single moms trying to take money out of the system than you have productive families and productive men putting money into the system. Dumbass. Dumbass. So on the left, they're just as retarded as the folks on the right. The folks on the right want to talk about family, but they don't want to talk about paying anybody. The folks on the left want to talk about dismantling, the family or having alternative families, but then having a pot of resources that they have access to that are essentially put there by the people that have structured families and operate in the realm of a more structured, when it comes to being responsible. So arguably on all of this, I'm moderate. Like it's like what Captain Solo says. It's like certain things I'm conservative about, other things I'm liberal about. And I think the same way. It depends on what we're talking about. And there's times where I'll sit there and I'll grab a little bit of both. I'm like, okay, I'm like, no, 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 no. I'm like, yeah, I'm with you on the free markets, capitalism, all that shit. But I'm like, you ain't gonna be out here paying people peanuts. Fuck that. Fuck that. What is the cost of living? Okay, yeah, you're gonna pay enough to where people can support themselves. Otherwise, what are you really talking about other than slavery? What are you talking about? Again, going back to what I said about, I mean, paying people in script. You see what I'm saying? Like. So I'm just pointing out, how, um, while people like they point to the other side and they're screaming, the boogeyman. I'm like, okay, well, what are you offering? What are you presenting? And it does, and this is the whole problem with everything going to the extremes of, the liberals. Y'all don't have no plan. Y'all all over the place. Okay. And then I mean, I look at the left like they're nuts because I'm like, you elevate women, you elevate the LGBT community, and then the most productive and most effective members of society, which are your men, when it comes to enforcing things, maintaining things, building things, defending things, like all this. Oh, we might have to go to war. Who's going to go to war? Who's going to go to war? All these young men who don't see a future. Who's going to go to war? What, you think all these young men are going to go to war to not be the breadwinner? You got another thought coming. You got another thought coming. Oh, well, if you don't go to war, we're going to not allow you to get federal funding from FAFSA, to go to college. Young men aren't even going to college like that because, again, your whole economic system of the job market is broken. Oh, go to college and put yourself in $80,000 in debt and then come out only making 1375. Oh, that sounds like a solid, effective business plan. Fuck out of here. So the young men are like, they're like, no, I'm gonna go and I'm gonna go down the Andrew Tate path. That's why they want Andrew Tate in jail, because they see him as disrupting things. I'm gonna go down to Andrew Tate. I'm gonna be a day trader. I'm gonna go on. I'm gonna get my Amazon FBA, and I'm gonna sell things made from China, and I'm gonna flip them on Amazon and sell them for twice what they're worth. And people are gonna buy it because Amazon has such an awesome return policy, right? And they can get it to you in 2 days. And all I got to do is pay for the fees for it to be in the warehouse. You see? So people are trying to find smarter, more effective, because you broke the system.
That's why the boomer talk and the Gen X talk of personal responsibility and hard work and my bootstraps, and what you got to go in is you got to print your resume out, and then you walk into an office with your bow tie, and then you make sure you give them a stern handshake, and you look them in the eye and say, and you make sure you take off your hat and hold it to your chest and say, sirs, I do's good work. I do's good work, sir. Get the fuck out of here. That's not how the shit works anymore. You know what I mean? The fucking the greedy ass boomers broke the fucking system, and the Gen Xers are right behind them with that bullshit. It's about the fucking money. That's what it's about. It's about the fucking money. And that's the only thing working class people should be focused on. Not any of this other shit. We can talk about that later. But once you deal with the money aspect, many of these problems that you all have identified and pointed out will go the fuck away. If we have a society full of gainfully employed men, many of these problems will go the fuck away. But again, because the powers that be don't want to pay any fucking body, they just go up there and they're just like, oh, well, let's focus on other things. What about gun control? What about abortion? What about DEI? And what about CRT? And what about the border? We must talk about the border. And what about Ukraine? And what about Israel? And we get all this other shit except for the one unifying thing that would bring everybody together, which is what? Men being gainfully employed. And y'all women, you bitches, shut the fuck up because you would fucking benefit from that shit. Y'all been sitting online for the last couple of years, bitching about there's so many dusties, and there's so many dusties, and I can't date up, and men are on my level, and men are on my level. I need to date up. I need to date up. These men are too broke. Shut the fuck up when men are talking about making more money. Shut up, bitch. Shut the fuck up. Shut up. God, y'all get on my damn nerves with that shit. But again, we're always going to have a bunch of fucking feminists in the background that are going to be like, no, no, no. Like they're melting like the Wicked Witch of the West. No, no, no. We can have men. That reinforces patriarchy. Right? And what's so stupid is, right? It's like the women, the crazy thing is women get to a point where men are so dusty that they want more men to be, well to do. But the thing is actually addressing and creating more men in society that are better off and can support a family. To them, only there's too many kick-ass men in this room. There's too many men making six figures in this room. I must, activate feminism. So fixing the very problem that women are bitching about today would only activate more feminism, because having more men that are financially well off and productive in society undermines feminism. And the feminism is another fucking psyop that, the CIA or some other organization, FBI, threw up there in order to, undermine, it's probably done by the banks, to undermine the average American, to undermine working people. Bust up the families. Yes, get women in the workforce so that we can fucking tax them more and we can put them in the debt. Yes, do that. I've seen a couple of videos where they got this clip of, it's like a woman and they act like they die in heaven, and the caption says, finding the woman that fought for women's rights so that women could enter the workforce. And they just walk up and then you hear this slap, and they slap them like, yeah, bitch, I was looking for you. Yeah, I was looking for you. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Who was the genius that decided that women need to work too, and then go out here and barely make it? And that's a whole nother thing. You know what I mean? Women wanted to work, yeah. When as long as the economy was good, women, they want to work. They want to work. We're strong and independent. We can do it too. As soon as the economy takes a nosedive, then all of a sudden they start retreating back to, now they want to be like a white woman in the 1850s, like their, little house on the prairie, and I'm looking for a gentleman that can provide for a family. Like now they're willing to go anywhere in the country, with a dude that's able to put a roof over their head. I'm like, isn't that funny? Oh, when times are good, oh, women, oh, feminism, fist in the air. When times are bad, I just want to be a stay-at-home wife. I just want to, because you realize it's hard to make money out here. You realize how much of your life you're sacrificing away for nothing, right? Because you work and then you don't even have anything left over by the end of the month. And now you're like, well, damn, I might as well be a fucking stay-at-home wife then. Well, shit, cause working is hard. Why am I out here doing all this? You mean I could be home? You know what I mean? Do a little bit of the dishes, clean the house, cook my husband some meal. Go, take his credit card, go to the supermarket, shop, gossip with some other women all day about what's little Johnny doing at school or some shit like that. Go play with the kids in the fucking park, and then come home, and then my husband is the one that walks in the door at 7 o'clock at night. You know what I mean? And I was watching, my stories at fucking 2 o'clock in the afternoon. Da-na-na-na, da-na-na-na-na, da-na-na-na-na-na-na-na. Right? You watching your fucking stories and shit. Oh, this just sounds like slavery to me. Bitch, if you don't get the fuck out of my face, if you don't get out of my fucking face, but again, yes, women are going to point out the terrible. Well, what if a man is abusive? And what if he's not a generous man and I don't know, bitch, you married him. I don't know. I don't know what to tell you. You know, I'm not taking divorce off the table. I don't know what to tell you, but I'm saying, I'm like, you married him. Some of y'all be making piss poor choices, and then you be bitching about how, how the shit turned out. I'm like, you chose him. Y'all have again, a man proposes to you, but you got the right to say yes or no. What the fuck? You gonna blame everybody else for that? Because you pick, like, it reminds me of Indiana Jones and shit. In the Holy Grail. She chose poorly. Yeah. You chose poorly, chick. You chose poorly. You should have figured out, done all your little shit tests to figure out whether this motherfucker was a generous dude to begin with or not. Damn. But I'm just saying, um, as much as it's just such a shit choice. I got white supremacy on one side, and then I got goofy ass, people that want to talk about now. See, the problem with the world is the heteronormative, just cisgendered, white supremacist, capitalist patriarchy. That's what the problem is. I'm like, and them on the other side. I'm like, oh my god, man. I'm like, yeah. The whole idea of either marrying someone abroad or moving abroad. Oh yeah, like that whole passport, bro. Cause this shit is just, you just look at it, you're like, this bitch is done. It's just done. Just nutty as squirrels. She got nutty people on both sides. There's 33 flavors of genders. And then you got the other side, thou shalt repent when the rapture comes. I'm like, oh my God. I'm like, here we go with this bullshit. I'm like, you do know, y'all evangelical Christians, you do know that y'all sound nutty as nutty as the fucking Muslims that you criticize. Y'all sound just as nutty as they do. You know what I'm saying? The punishment for apostasy is death. Y'all sound just as crazy as them. You know what I mean? That bitch, she divorced her husband, stone her, right? Like, that's what y'all motherfuckers sound like. Y'all sound just as screwy and wacky, as the Muslims. Y'all just as crazy. We're gonna get our AR-15s and we're gonna go attack something. And I'm like, and is that not what ISIS does? Is that not what the Taliban does? Is that not what Al Qaeda does? Right? They disagree, and we're gonna get our AKs. Like, you guys are literally. I mean, freaking Dark Matter. What is it? More Dark Matter 2525. What was his? What's his channel? He did a video where he talks about the Christians and them being the same as the radical Muslims and shit, and it's hilarious. I love that video. That video's like got to be at least 10 years old, but it's hilarious. Like, literally, that's literally who you all are. Just nutty as squirrel shit. Can't talk about money. I'm like, no, the reason why society is collapsing is because you don't have enough economically viable men to support fucking families. That's why. No, no, it's because they didn't come to church on Sunday. Like, I'm surrounded by idiots. Anyway, that's my video, SWP. Don't forget to comment, share, like, and subscribe.